Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I am your host, Brian Scott. I'm so excited to return to Robert B. Stone today, and there's an amazing compilation that Dennis Stone put together called The Richness of Mind, which compiles a number of different books by Robert Stone, in particular his teachings on prosperity and using the power of the mind to get rich. And he had some amazing exercises and affirmations. So I wanted to share a little bit of this book. Right now you can get a free copy of this book at robertbstone.com. It is so generous of Dennis to give a free copy of the book. It's available for free. I'm just going to read from a couple of chapters, but there's so much more. Robert B. Stone's teachings are super amazing. As we've said before, they're linked to the Silva Mind Control and beyond. We have learned so much so far on the podcast from Robert B. Stone's teachings about psychotronic power, miracle metaphysics, Silva Mind Control for getting help on the other side, how to gain strength from nature sitting in your living room, hypno-cybernetics, life without limits, Silva Mind Control for business managers, Celestial 911. There is so much. We've barely scratched the surface. A lot of mine are just sort of samples. You definitely need to check out every single one of the books we've gone over so far, but I wanted to go over a couple chapters in particular that are some of my favorites. The second chapter has some compilations from the book Miracle Metaphysics, and how miracle metaphysics attracts wealth to you faster than you can spend it. Money is the symbol of abundance. The flow of money into and out of men's lives is probably next to love man's greatest concern. This concern for money seems to have a strange effect. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. This has been recognized even as far back as the writing of the Bible. You can understand this apparent unfairness now that you have reached this chapter better than you probably could have understood it before you opened this book. You can see how a poor man who visualizes his lack and worries about his tomorrow perpetuates that lack, while the rich man who mentally counts his wealth and anticipates its growth perpetuates his abundance. Change your habitual thinking from thoughts of limited money to thoughts of unlimited wealth, and you change your life. However, this is not easily done. How can you think of wealth when you have more bills to pay than you have cash in the bank? How can you think of wealth when a note is due or the car is on its last legs? Metaphysics enables you to turn the tide. How Pamela B. used a special $1 bill to start a flow of thousands of dollars that is still continuing. Mrs. Pamela B. was starting a metaphysical bookstore in Canada. She wrote me asking for any psychic support I could send her. When I read the letter, I took a $1 bill out of my pocket and held it for a moment in my hand. I saw this $1 bill moving out into circulation, creating an ever-expanding stream of returning dollar bills. Good luck, I wrote her. This dollar is not to be framed. Spend it for something right away, and then watch what happens. 2 months later, we met at a metaphysical conference. Her face lit up like a beacon when she spotted me. That $1 bill, she reported, has not stopped flowing yet. It's a miracle. She told me how she gave it to a high school student for helping her place books on shelves. The student told others about the far-out books in her store. Clubs formed. Teachers called her in to describe her store to their classes. Students are now her best customers and bringing in their parents too. That dollar is still flooding her with more thousands of dollars today. Later in this chapter, I will tell you how to energize money to create your own flood of cash. But first, you have some mental work to do. This is a world of abundance. Nature casts her seeds around as if they were going out of style. It takes one sperm to fertilize an egg. But is nature a piker? Have yourself a million. Abundance seems to flow naturally through some people, but not through others. If you are in this latter group, I have some shocking news for you. A torrent of wealth has been ready to flow through your hands, but you have been blocking it. Here is how to get out of your own way and permit yourself to have all the money you need. A powerful mantra that materializes money. Let's get inside Henry's head and listen to his thoughts. Henry is in between jobs. $5 has last me until tomorrow. What if the unemployment check is late? I'll take her to the pizza parlor tonight. Hope the gas holds out. I'll stay out until after the landlady goes to bed. Hard to find a job. The pictures in Henry's head are free. True or false? False. Those pictures are costing Henry a fortune. It's the same kind of fortune that Fred is enjoying. Well, you say, Henry and Fred are both picturing what they already have. True. But now for the good news, the picture comes first. The choice of pictures is yours. You can have all the pictures of abundance you can imagine. The more you picture, the more abundant your life becomes. Here's the hitch. It is next to impossible to think realistically of riches when your stomach is empty. And how can you visualize thousands in the bank when you just received a notice that you're overdrawn? What is needed first is a sort of mental aspirin, something to ease the pain of poverty so you can better visualize wealth. Here is just what the doctor ordered, the metaphysician, that is. Do it now. Metaphysical action plan to change from a consciousness of poverty to one of wealth using a mantra of abundance. 1. Memorize these words. Nature expresses abundance through me. I open myself to the flow of opportunity and wealth. Home, home, home. It's Om pronounced as in home. 2. Relax and picture yourself as wealthy. Let pictures of office, home, and family flow through your mind, reflecting dreams come true. 3. And by repeating the words you memorized 3 times. This is an affirmation reinforced by a mantra. The affirmation is the part you memorized. The mantra, the final word, Om. Let me explain. Om is a sanctified sound, sacred not because it is some particular culture's deity or blessing, but because it is the sound of nature herself. If all the spheres in the universe made a sound, if all the molecules vibrating in matter could be heard, if all the electrons rotating in atoms were audible, the sound would be like singing Om in a monotone. Keep your lips open as you sound it. Feel how you vibrate to this sound. Everything resonates to this universal sound. Test this out. Hold your hands out in front of you, palms down. Now sing Om in a low monotone. Can you hear the sound with the skin of your palms? Your palms tingle as it vibrates to the mantra. The effect of Om on you is to open you to the universe. You become more aligned with universal flows of all kinds, the flow of order, growth, intelligence, harmony, and abundance. The science of psychotronics, study of consciousness, is confirming the validity of ancient metaphysical prosperity practices. Where consciousness aligns itself with the universe, you automatically remove those private little dams you have built, and the natural flow of wealth enters your life. How Steve B used affirmation and mantra to crawl out from under a pile of bills into a life of ease. Steve B had been married for 10 years when his business went bankrupt, leaving him with nothing but bills. The bank was threatening to foreclose on his home. The phone was cut off. The electric company was breathing down his neck. Bill collectors had stopped threatening and were serving summons. To get cash for food, Steve was kiting checks at the banks, an illegal procedure that was bound to catch up with him soon. Steve had been interested in metaphysics, but now this passing interest became his last resort. He applied the affirmation of wealth in his life several times a day and sang the Om mantra. He also visualized himself free of his problems. Within 3 months, he had renegotiated his mortgage with another bank, leaving him excess funds to pay all his bills. He had started a new business which was earning more than enough for his family, and he started to accumulate savings. If you have used the Om mantra and created a wheel of fortune, you have changed the polarity of your consciousness. You are now able to perform amazing metaphysical money feats. How to energize $1 to multiply manyfold again and again. At the beginning of this chapter, I told you the story of how I energized a dollar bill for Pamela B. and how it brought her a continuous flood of dollars. You are now able to create this same exciting phenomenon for yourself or for others. I've seen this work for many people. A young man got an unexpected tax refund of $150 that same week. A woman found a $20 bill that same day. A writer got a $5,000 assignment in 3 weeks. A real estate woman with no sale for months made a $3,000 commission within 3 days. Now, Mrs. Norma E. made $3,000 commission with a charged $1 bill. Mrs. Norma E. was a moderately successful real estate agent, but sales have been few and far between for nearly a year. A seller's market had turned to a buyer's market, and a large influx of new real estate agents were competing for the thinner market. With 3 youngsters to feed and both a home and office to maintain, Mrs. E. was feeling very low when she came to me for metaphysical assistance. I had her put a dollar bill in front of her, and then had her relax and picture sunlight entering her body and then beaming out to the money from her solar plexus. She saw the money charged with energy so that when she spent it, it would return manyfold. She was the dollar triggering a deluge of dollars in her direction. Then she spent the dollar. 3 days after this exercise, she received a call from a couple she showed a house to 10 weeks before, but who had decided to buy elsewhere. "We're back," he said. "If that house is still available, we'll take it at the asking price." The sale meant a much-needed $3,000 commission to Mrs. E. and a financial turn of events in her career. Coincidence? Maybe. But metaphysicians certainly attract more than their share of happy coincidences. You have prepared your consciousness to accept unlimited abundance. You will now learn how to prepare a triggering device that can set off an explosion of wealth. That device is a dollar bill. It can also be 5, 10, or 20. Wait until you have success with these denominations before you use larger bills as your triggering device. Here is how to proceed. Metaphysical action plan to charge up a dollar bill as a triggering device to set off an explosion of money. 1. Relax with the bill in your hand. 2. Visualize the sun above your head beating down on you with brilliance and warmth. 3. See that sunlight entering your solar plexus just above your navel. Permit it to enter for a few minutes. 4. Now hold the dollar bill to your solar plexus. See it being charged by the sun's energy that you have stored. 5. When it appears to get hot in your hand, visualize yourself spending the bill and its energy touching off a flow of bills in your direction. See it continuing to do this wherever it goes. 6. End the session and spend the bill as quickly as possible. How to multiply the deluge of money by combining your power with others. Where consciousness goes, energy goes. I keep repeating this because it is the new concept of this age. The ancients knew it, but then mankind seemed to forget it. The energy of consciousness is now being rediscovered and harnessed to do work. You energized a dollar bill, or higher denomination, to do work utilizing the energy of your consciousness. You used your consciousness as a battery. 2 batteries provide more energy than 1. 3, of course, more than 2. You can build up the energy flow into a bill by working with your friends or members of your family. They must not oppose the action out of disbelief. This would short-circuit the energy. They must believe as you believe, do as you do. Metaphysical action plan to build up conscious energy by joining with others. 1. Review procedure as all sit in a circle. 2. Place 1 bill in the center of the circle. Repeat the process later if more than 1 bill is to be energized. 3. Clasp hands. Left palms up, right palms down. Proceed as in previous action plan. Every philosopher and metaphysician knows that the universe does not give you something for nothing, but they also know that you have a huge credit buildup with the universe because if you are like most people, you've been selling yourself short, accepting less money than you deserve for what you do, getting no money for many services you render, and thinking less of yourself and your worth than your true value. So the Om mantra, the Wheel of Fortune, and the metaphysical dollar bill are ways of opening your previously locked doors of consciousness and permitting the universe to pay its debts to you. This debt may run into the thousands of dollars or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. But then there comes a time when you must keep the flow going by building up your credit with the universe. Before I set forth the procedure for building up this credit, let me review what you must do to keep your consciousness open to the money deluge. Repeat the Om mantra periodically. Keep a wheel of fortune in sight. Charge up a bill occasionally and send it out. Keep a bill of large proportions hidden on your person, 20, 50, as in your clothing or purse or wallet. Repeat the affirmation on the rim of your wheel of fortune several times a day. How to keep money flowing to you from many directions. Do you have a valuable gift or talent? Have you ever helped others to develop a similar talent? When writers freely help others to write, musicians help others to play, accountants give pointers to newcomers to their profession, good things happen to these good Samaritans. Since the person helped does not pay them, the universe must pay them. When the universe pays you, it pays you much better than people pay you. Try it in the next few days. Do something out of value for which you get no payment. Here are some possibilities. Help someone to learn English. Volunteer your time at a hospital. Join a fraternal or service organization. Write a letter to your editor or your congressman in favor of some reform. Read for the blind. Spend time at an orphanage. Be a companion to some lonely senior citizen. Help your neighbor with the planting or construction project. Stay overtime voluntarily to help the firm get a particular job done. How is helping your neighbor, a friend, or your boss a metaphysical act? Try it and see. First, you will receive gifts from people. Maybe they are not even the people you did something for. Accept these gifts graciously, knowing that these people are just playing a role of the universe. They have been moved to make you the recipient of their apple pie, the coconut from Jamaica, or the dress or suit they changed their mind about. Second, good things will happen to you. Marcus Bach calls it serendipity. What is serendipity? You meet a person who has exactly the answer you need to move ahead on some project. Somebody you have forgotten about may return money you loaned him years ago. A magazine may accept a poem you sent them and enclose a check. The boss may invite you to dinner. These are all examples of serendipity, the universe's way of saying thanks for joining the credit side of the ledger. The real payment is still to come. The universe pays and pays way beyond your personal sense of proper remuneration. When you give a book to a hospital library, it may be worth only $1, but the universe weighs more than the retail value of the book. How much is the thought of doing it worth? How much is the motive for bringing pleasure to others worth? How much is that pleasure enjoyed by these others worth? A metaphysician knows that the wage scale of the universe is beyond belief. The metaphysician gives, and gives, knowing that he is building up treasures beyond description. You are now a metaphysician. Find out for yourself the real meaning behind the words, "It is better to give than to receive." Far, far better. Can you discover the ancient secret of turning base metals into gold? In India, a great wise man, Sai Baba, draws thousands to his ashram each day to listen to his teachings, receive his blessings, and observe him produce ash, gems, and gold jewelry, apparently out of the air. I personally discussed Sai Baba's abilities with scientists and laypeople who have observed him close up. They say it cannot be trickery, but they have no explanation other than that he indeed does what he appears to do, materialize objects. Sai Baba gives us a clue to the secret behind alchemy, the ability to turn base metals into gold. Perhaps it is not the base metal that is involved, but pure consciousness. Dr. Edgar Mitchell has observed materialization and dematerialization in the laboratory a number of times under fairly well-controlled conditions. If the present laws of thermodynamics were all he had to explain this, he comments, San Francisco would have been destroyed by the energy released. But no energy was measurably released, so something else was involved, which he is now working on. L.W. de Lawrence, whose books on the occult written some 50 years ago are still considered today among the most reliable claims that the primary material used by alchemists was found within themselves. This end becomes their philosopher's stone. Sai Baba has been observed coughing up a stone the size of an egg on numerous occasions, but there has been no claim for these stones in connection with alchemy or materialization of other substances. If de Lawrence is carefully read, one sees a connection between the soul essence and a watery mercurial substance, which he infers can transmute impure metal into the purest gold and in sizable amounts. In parts of Africa, it is said that there are brokers who enable you to sell your soul for cash. You approach these men and state how much money you need. They in turn tell you how long you may live. You return home and find the cash beneath a pillow or under a bed. Then at the agreed time, 1 or more years later, you are found dead of unknown causes. It is unthinkable for a civilized person to sell his soul for cash, but we do it too, in our own way, as examination of crime records show. All conjecture true, but at the rate the occult is being de-occulted these days, the secrets of alchemy are likely to be discovered by somebody soon. That somebody might be you. Give the universe carte blanche to bestow wealth upon you. We are in the habit of thinking within limits. We have undone the financial limitations we formerly placed on ourselves. Abundance can now flow into our life. However, that habitual way of thinking in terms of limitations can still undercut our metaphysical action plans. The following is an example how Mrs. Evelyn V's image of a new home backfired. Evelyn V envied her neighbor across the street who lived in a much bigger house. She visualized herself living in that house. One night she woke up and found her house in flames. Her husband died in the fire. The house was destroyed and all possessions lost. Her neighbor took her. Thus, in this instance, her vision backfired because of her envy and her limited vision. A postal clerk I knew years ago asked me, "You mean to say all I have to do is relax, picture a check for $1 million and I will get it?" "Sure," I replied, "if that is really what you want." A month later, he greeted me excitedly with, "It worked." The check writing machine had been set wrong with a 1 in the $1 million spot in front of his monthly salary. Of course, the check was useless to him, as it could not be legally cashed. If the mind thinks in limited ways, the universe replies in kind. How much better it is to give the universe a free hand, carte blanche, in channeling wealth to us. You are better off seeing a house instead of her house. You are likely to receive more satisfying results seeing yourself prospering rather than prospering with this person's business or that person's know-how. How Sam J won $50,000 in a lottery. Sam J needed a grant from the government if he were to continue his research into the powers of the mind. However, instead of the money, he received a "don't call us, we'll call you" type of turndown. Now 10 years of hard work seemed about to go down the drain. Sam had become an expert in alpha picturing. He relaxed deeply. He visualized his research not only continuing but expanding. Then he dreamed about a lottery ticket number. One afternoon, he had closed his laboratory and he was about to go home when he met a friend. "Let's cross the border and do shopping before the Mexican stores close," suggested the friend. Sam agreed. They drove from their Texas town to the Mexican town in just a few minutes. While looking around a store, Sam spotted some lottery tickets. Among them was the number in his dream. "These are my last few tickets," said the store owner. Sam bought them. A month later, he was notified that he had won the equivalent of $50,000. His research was able to continue, and he bought some new alpha measuring biofeedback equipment to expand it. Let the universe decide how it will bestow its blessings on you. You must think wealth. You must think luxury. You must think abundance. You must think travel, possessions, cash in the bank. But let your thoughts be undetailed and unlimited. Let it happen. It is yours to enjoy without limit. And in another chapter, there's some highlights from the book Life Without Limits, which is also absolutely amazing. In each chapter of the book, Robert B. Stone channels wisdom of a particular sage into literally sage advice to achieve life goals. The excerpts that I read from here are from the first chapter, inspired by Chinese poet and philosopher Lo Fu, and the second chapter containing the wisdom of Druid priest Koneda. We've established that good is contagious. So is bad. Take your pick. The choice is available to us every minute of every day, whether we are at home or away, at work or at play. The business world is perhaps the most difficult environment in which to make that choice. The reason is that the good path is more likely to be less profitable than the bad, at least from an immediate point of view. Attendance is lagging in your theater. You are losing money. Raise the price of tickets, you say. That sounds like the solution, so you do, and you make more money. But now some people find the movies too expensive. They stay home and watch television. Your gross take goes down once again instead of up. Does that mean next time you will know better? Don't bet on it. You are in the food business. Lower quality costs less and you can make more money. Your customers won't know the difference, so you supply lower quality. Your net profit jumps, but soon your customers are going across the street, where the quality is higher. At the end of the year, your lower volume sales put you in the red, while across the street, there's a grocer who is all smiles. Management and labor are constantly in a state of confrontation in the United States. Each wants a bigger portion of the pie. As a result, the consumer pays a bigger bill for products and services. Inflation becomes rampant, and everybody loses. What would happen if both management and labor lived by the principle of not who is right, but what is right? How does one define what is right? Usually what is right means that which makes their world a better world to live in. Now we are getting somewhere. Think about it. Is this the best of all possible worlds? Far from it. That means creation is nowhere near completion. Perhaps that is why the Creator has put us here, to help with the completion of creation. Why good is contagious in any activity. Anyone who thinks negatively is an ally of destruction rather than a friend of creation. Cannot all be like that little boy who refused to leave the manure-filled barn. When asked why he kept digging in it, he replied, "With all this manure here, there must be a pony somewhere." Still, it's easy to be positive. Anyone who thinks positively is an ally of creation. Such a person is a co-creator with the Creator. Help make this a better world to live in, and you share the abundance that is already here. You not only find that you are in a flow of money quite adequate to pay bills and buy what you'd like, but you are rich in the other aspects of abundance so essential to true prosperity. Loving friends, romance, joy, and inner peace. When you think positively, your actions reflect those positive thoughts. It is impossible to feel optimistic, supportive, constructive, and appreciative without actually being helpful, creative, loving, and contributory. If you do something in your work that you are not really required to do, but it helps solve a problem, should you put in charge for overtime? If a visitor spots a book on the shelf in your living room, one you've already read, which your visitor is intrigued with, and which you decided to part with, do you charge your visitor a fair used book price? Your waiter is exemplary. He explains the menu, replaces an improperly prepared dish, advises you on desserts, and looks in on you to see if all is well. Do you leave him a generous tip? There's a good reason not to charge for overtime, the same good reason not to charge for the book, and a good reason in favor of a higher than usual tip. That good reason is not to ingratiate yourself with your boss or with the visitor or with the waiter. It is to ingratiate yourself with the Creator. You won't find why in any encyclopedia, book of knowledge, or compendium of wisdom, but it is carved in the stone of human experience. The Creator does not allow good to go unrewarded, and the rewards far exceed minimum wage. Khalil Gibran, author of The Prophet, has said, in effect, don't invite rich people to your house for dinner. They will repay you by inviting you to their house for dinner. Invite poor people to your house for dinner. They cannot pay you back, so the universe must pay you back. The universe is sure to pay you back. It is a law as immutable as the law of gravity. This does not mean that business should give away their products or services. They would soon have to close their doors. That would be destructive, not creative. It would make this a lesser world to live in. What it behooves you to give away are your favors and helpful acts, both outside and inside of your livelihood. Sometimes it is better to charge for something that has been free. For instance, the chief librarian of a state-run Western university was faced with severe budget cuts because of a staff revenue shortfall that affected all branches of the government, including this university. The librarian had been with the university for over 10 years and had built up the library to where it was one of the most complete in the country. Now he was faced with practically no new acquisitions, a reduction in periodicals, and shorter hours. Other department heads faced with similar cuts merely threw up their hands in surrender and said, "So be it." Not this librarian. "I'm a problem solver, not a problem victim," he reminded himself and others. He made the plight of the library known and instituted a $30 annual fee for the use of the library. Money poured in. Even people who never used the library paid their $30 membership fee to support their library's excellent status. As a result, that university still has one of the best libraries in the country, despite the budget cuts, thanks to a positive thinking problem solver. Step off the treadmill of limited money and limited love now. The Druids were priests of the Celtic people, a race that included the Bretons, the Highlanders of Scotland, the Irish, the Welsh, and the Cornish. They idolized the oak tree as a symbol of the strength and prolific aspect of nature, and they were involved with the creation of Stonehenge in Britain, which remains to this day one of the more important legacies of the past. Located on the Salisbury Plain in southern England, it is considered to be mainly a monument to the rising sun, a marker for the eclipses and a source of other astrological observations. They also built other stone circles, erected pillars, and created other megalithic shrines, including dolmens to hold their abundance of treasures, especially accumulated knowledge. One legacy of the past has been lost in complexity of the present. It is the legacy of abundance. Two ancient cities, lost for centuries, have recently been discovered that illustrate this abundance in breathtaking ways. One is located in Jordan, now hidden by narrow canyons and rock slides, but still exhibiting styles of architecture borrowed from the dominant European cultures of the time. It is breathtaking in the vastness of its halls and rooms, all chiseled from the rock cliffs, and all adorned with an abundance of time-consuming and time-tested art. The other ancient city has been recently found in the dense forests of Peru, about 50 miles northwest of Cusco. Buried for centuries by the vines, trees, and dense undergrowth of the Andes Mountains, it was named Machu Picchu and was both the greatest metropolis and strongest fortress of its time. To try to construct an equivalent citadel today would tax the wealth of the entire civilized world. Neither of these cities are associated with the Druids, but they are examples of how a legacy of abundance such as that of the Druids can remain hidden from us. The Druids, the oak tree, and you. The Druids worshipped the oak tree not only for its strength and abundance of its seed, the acorn, but for the understanding it gave them of the meaning of life. Life is an endless chain. Should the oak ever be felled, it lives on in the many oaks that grow from its seed. The oak tree was never born and therefore never dies, so it is with humankind. Life is an endless chain of experiences with no beginning and no end, and therefore with no natural limitations. There are unnatural limitations. There are limitations unnatural to the intelligence that runs the limitless universe, but natural to the human mind. We suffer from unnatural limitations. These limitations are caused by our thoughts. What we believe to be limited becomes limited in our life. Nobody will argue with the fact that in this life we have limited money and limited love. Still, it is not true. Most of us who live this life make it true. There is no limit to the money anyone can have, but because their name is not Bates or Forbes or Perot or Rockefeller, they think they have been born into a world of limited income and limited wealth. There is no limit to the love anyone can have, because when they look in the mirror, they don't see a Monroe or a Garbo or a Peck or a Cooper. They think they have been born into a world of limited mutual attraction and therefore of limited love. Suffering from limited money or limited love is needless suffering. Your suffering is caused by your thoughts. Change your thoughts, and you change your life. Here's how to make these changes. How to profit from a Druid secret. The Druid priest Coneda was no ordinary person. As a Celt, he appreciated the extraordinary capabilities of the Celtic women who knew how to draw on the limitless power of the goddess within. She had wisdom, self-confidence, and magical strength. Today's Celt music survives and bears more than a hint of that ancient wisdom. In fact, Celts today see in that music a promise of a Celtic tomorrow, a resurgence of Celtic magic and limitless life that it promises. As spiritual leaders of the Celts, the Druids were considered to be the magicians and sages of their day. They were the masters of enchantment, the diviners of love. Their essential function was sustaining the prosperity of tribe and land. They did this by what was then considered to be magical means. However, it was less magical than mental, a means that Jesus had taught centuries earlier, but was little perceived and less perpetuated. It was a special use of the mind. Jesus put it this way: go to the kingdom of heaven within. Function within God's righteousness, and all things will come unto you. Translated into contemporary language, Jesus was saying, in effect, Go within through meditation. Imagine money problems solved, health restored, creative goals reached, and whatever you so imagine will come to pass. In the days of the Druids, the individual power was locked up. To share the creative ability of the mind with the common people was to give up your power over them. Of course, today, the de-occulting of the occult is well underway. Millions of people, perhaps billions, already know the creative power of thinking. Why then do they not use it? Why do they suffer from lack of money? And why do they stifle their desire for love? Yes, I'm talking to you. The answer lies in the hypnotic power of the material world to monopolize your senses and to program your consciousness. Limited power and limited time spawns in you limited thoughts and a limited life. Thoughts of limitation bring you limited love and limited ability. You build a prison of limitation for yourself. In the next 5 minutes, you will find that the prison door was never locked. You will open it and emerge into a bright new world of untold riches and fabulous love. This will happen because 2 quick demonstrations will convince you that your mind is capable of more than you thought. You will change your mind about your mind. This will start with your mind's control over your body. By seeing this happen in real life, you will open the way for your mind to continue its creative ability beyond your body, to your bed and to your bank account. 2 exercises that begin to open the door. The first exercise involves your arms. Read the instructions twice, then do it. Exercise number 1. Standing, hold both arms straight out in front of you, palms down, your arms parallel to the floor. Close your eyes. Imagine a heavy shopping bag full of groceries hanging from your right wrist. Imagine it being so heavy that you can hardly hold it. Imagine a big balloon pulling up on your left wrist. Make these mental pictures real. After a few seconds, open your eyes. Read the instructions a second time. Done. Okay. Stop reading here and do the exercise. When you close your eyes, your arms were at the same height. Now the right arm is lower than the left. Why? The second exercise is best done seated. Read the instructions twice, then do it. Exercise number 2. Turn your head to the left, as far as it will comfortably go, and remember how far that was. Close your eyes and imagine that you're able to turn your head much farther than you did. Open your eyes and once again turn your head to the left. Read the instructions a second time. Stop reading here and do it. Once again, turn your head to the left as far as it will comfortably go and remember how far that was. Close your eyes and imagine that you're able to turn your head much farther than you did. Open your eyes and once again, turn your head to the left. When you turned your head to the left for the second time, it went a bit farther than the first time. Why? The answer to both whys is your mind controls your body. Do you realize what this means? For starters, it means that you can make yourself sick and you can make yourself well. It means, too, that you can tap all the energy you need for whatever you need to do. It means you can develop skills and talents you never believed could be yours. As a next step, you will learn that science has found that all our minds are connected to each other. That concept is indeed a quantum leap for the mind. Do you realize what this means? Eventually on these pages, you will learn that thought is a creative energy and that wealth, also being energy, can be created by thought as well. And do you realize what this means? Everett was fortunate to go to college, but unfortunate in not being able to finish. The son of a Kentucky farmer who had saved enough in the good years to be able to afford his son's tuition for a little while. Everett found himself back on the farm after a year in state university. His taste of higher education made him bitter, and it gave him a feeling of inferiority. It intensified the belief that this was a world of haves and have-nots, and that he was destined to remain in the latter group. For a while he drove a school bus, was found to have liquor on his breath one working day, and was discharged. He used his earnings to buy a used truck and help farmers with their cartage. His mother died, and 1 year later his father died too. Now he was too busy with the farm to earn trucking money. He lived on his own produce and sold the surplus. How is Everett doing now? Haven't heard. I don't believe he has the money for postage. The poor get poorer because the hypnotic effect of the limitations of the material world are just too dominant to be considered beatable. Take by contrast Eugene. He was born in Westchester County, New York, a wealthy suburb of New York City. His father, a bank vice president, talked money at home constantly. The family enjoyed all the luxuries they wanted, traveled abroad with Eugene and his sister, and sent them both to the best universities. When Eugene graduated, he disappointed his father by refusing to take a job in that same bank. He was sure that a life of abundance was for his of the asking, free of paternal supervision. Instead, he joined an investment firm. His optimistic attitude won him client after client. His choice of investments proved magical. Everything he touched seemed to turn to gold. Eugene married and lived in Southampton, Long Island, where his family grew to 5 children. His father remained paternal, but Eugene let his advice bounce off him. He was his own entrepreneur and the world had no limitations. The last I knew about Eugene was seeing his name on the Fortune 500 list. The rich get richer because they do not believe in any limitations in the material world. Poor or rich, the choice is yours. The Druids were rich. They were rich because they made the choice to be rich. And once they made that choice, they knew how to manifest richness. They taught one another but seldom divulged their mental methods to outsiders. Today, all we really know is they attracted gifts from persons of every rank. Each knew their relationship to the abundant universe in early life. This basic identity, when formed early in life, can remain essentially unchanged throughout life. The poor stay poor. The rich stay rich. Riches can be attracted to you in the form of friendships, joy, belongings, and yes, even cash. Occasionally, a life trauma of major proportions can alter these deep subconscious beliefs. A loss, an illness, a divorce, an incarceration can make a change in a person's subconscious beliefs in either direction. When the direction is positive, the event is usually referred to as enlightenment or being born again. In Japan, it would be called satori, in India, samadhi. Even a major trauma may not affect a person strongly enough to move him or her from a world of need to a world of plenty. Psychologists recognize a resistance to change. This immobility and preference for the status quo causes such a person to consider the new events as a threat, and they attempt to sweep them under the table. We will assume that you are not such a person, or you would not have this book. We will also assume that nobody with a consciousness of plenty would want to move to a consciousness of need, and that what is now being awaited are the steps you are to take to implement your choice. Here are those steps. No life trauma, just pleasant thoughts. A simple procedure to cause a shift in consciousness from poverty to plenty. The Hawaiian kahunas or wise men knew the power of the mind. They called a level of mind beyond the conscious level the unihipili. They considered it the creator within us, the creator that fills all space and is all intelligent. Since there is no written source for this, we must rely on those whose research has become most respected and used by Hawaiians today. Such an authority is the late Mary Fukui, who calls the unihipili a kind of spiritual pipeline to supernatural powers. The Druids must have known of this pipeline too. Their magic transcended sleight of hand and optical illusion and manifested quite dramatically in material ways. A breed of New Age scientists today has endorsed this concept and developed ways to harness this spiritual pipeline for personal gain. Conventional scientists have turned their professional backs on inner knowledge obtained subjectively. A strong bias exists against all knowledge that has not been obtained and tested by standard measurable procedures. Meanwhile, millions of people encouraged by their spiritual beliefs or trained by such commercial courses as the Silva method are able to tap this supernatural power within through simple relaxation accompanied by special mental communication. You already followed the simple step to relax the body and mind. Prepare now to learn the simple steps that enable you to communicate with the supernatural power within you that we have been calling the Creator. It is something that has been considered a waste of time. It is forbidden in the conventional classroom, yet it is the most powerful attribute of the human mind. It is called daydreaming. A similarity between night dreaming and daydreaming. The encephalogram measures brain pulsations. These pulsations are electrical waves that are measures of states of consciousness. Right now, your brain waves are probably at a frequency of 14 to 22 per second. If you were to close your eyes and relax, chances you would lower your brainwave frequency somewhere between 7 and 14 waves per second. That is called the alpha brainwave frequency. It is the alpha brainwave frequency that we daydream. It is also at the alpha brainwave frequency that we dream at night. The active brainwave frequency you are now at is called beta. We start to fall asleep below alpha at 4 to 7 pulsations per second called theta, and as our brain waves slow up to below 4 at delta, we are in deep sleep. Do not dream at delta. We do not dream at theta. But during the night, every hour and a half, our brain waves become faster, and then they reach alpha, we begin to dream. These periodic night dreams have something in common with daydreams. They often turn out to be inspired by the source of infinite intelligence we call the Creator. Niels Bohr, a physicist who worked for years to discover the nature of matter, received the information he needed to construct the periodic table of elements in a dream. That dream won him the Nobel Prize. The Nobel Prize is, besides the honor, real money. His dream made him rich. So did a dream of Sir Frederick Grant Banting, who discovered in a dream his laboratory approach for production of insulin. The biographers Giuseppe Tartini, composer of the Devil's Sonata, described how it came to him in a night dream. In the dream, he handed his violin to the devil to see how he could play. I heard him play with consummate skill a sonata of such exquisite beauty. I felt enraptured. He awoke, picked up his violin, and tried to play the sounds he heard in the dream. The piece he then composed was not as good as he heard in his dream, but it was still the best he had ever done. Robert Louis Stevenson exploited his dreams in the notable writing career. An example was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, where a difficult part of the plot, the transformation, came to Stevenson in a dream. This was when Hyde, in the presence of his pursuers, took the powder and underwent the change to Dr. Jekyll. These night dreams have something in common with daydreams. They are both the source of creativity. Night dreams are more spontaneous. Daydreams are more under control and purposeful. Each foreshadows reality. Mary marveled at what a beautiful day it was and wished she could take the children to the beach, but she did not have any money, not even bus fare. She relaxed and daydreamed about being at the beach and helping the children play in the sand. A few minutes later, one of her boys came running in. "Hey Mom, look what we found at the lawn." It was a $10 bill. What is there about night dreams and daydreams that make them both creative? They're both at the alpha level. There are so many other chapters and so many other great exercises and affirmations, so definitely check out the free PDF that's available. Richness of Mind will soon be a book, I believe, on Amazon. Richness of Mind by Robert B. Stone. It's amazing. It's fantastic. I've definitely used these techniques. And the thing that this particular teaching really captures well, going beyond just the techniques, is a way of thinking on a regular basis about things, about when you give tips, on how you spend your money, on how you bring things in, on how you look at things. Every single decision that you make with money, when you buy a t-shirt or when you sell something that you own, comes from a place of abundance. And there is a way of thinking about it. And you do earn money by the universe when you do stuff for free, when you give stuff away, and you are always paid better in so many ways. It's an amazing thing, and it always leads to actual material abundance that you see in dollars and cents, for sure, in your bank account. It's something that you can access, and it's powerful. His suggestion to access your daydreams, his suggestion to access the alpha level state is key. Doing this simple exercise technique is powerful. Now, have you tried the money technique? I want to know. Put it in the comments if you do. When I first read this, I definitely tried it. Got a 20 in my hand and just imagined the 20 going out and coming back to me. And based on the success in my life, it could have been all from that 20 that I sent out. So charge your money when you send it out, that it will come back to you 100-fold. So I'd really love to know what exercises and techniques you're doing, how you're thinking about money. Have you had any realizations lately? New epiphanies about prosperity and the way that you act around money? Share them with us. We all want to know. You know, I often get comments that I talk about manifesting material and wealth too much on my channel for someone that considers themselves to be a spiritual person. And I say it's fundamental. I want to help all my brothers and sisters out there, and many are struggling that do not have the resources and abundance that they need right now. And I want them to have it so that they reach a point where they're not worried about money. And the next level is their mind and their consciousness and their own spirit. And the next step is always that. So find your comfort, because when you're not worried about feeding your stomach, when you're not worried about paying your rent, then you open your mind to other possibilities of evolution. So this is an important step, and it is a wonderful thing that you can learn how to do. And we need to get people who are service to others in a point where they're making money so that we can expand this movement. In any case, all episodes of The Reality Revolution can be found at therealityrevolution.com. And welcome to The Reality Revolution.